In this video, we will continue our discussions on the survey settings. This video will focus on the data file parsing options. The first option is the data import items. To start, simply select that item there and then click on the ellipsis button. This will bring up the data import items. This dialog contains a list of available data import types that are delivered with the software. Most data collector raw output files are listed here and can be imported as raw survey data. Looking at this from a user's perspective, the user will see the data import items list when importing a raw data file. Simply right-click on the field book and do an import file. This will bring up the import file dialog, and then the list that we're seeing in the configuration is this list here. Notice that we have filters here, so I can filter my files by changing it to, let's say, tripart data systems, and then that reduces the list to show me only RW5 files or any other file that belongs to that data import. To reduce the number of items in the data import list, you can change the use column of any item to false, and the data import item will not show up in the list seen by the users. Simply come over and change any item and change that to false, and that will reduce the size of the list. You can also add your own data import items. Simply come to the top here and press the Add button. A common one to add would be a text import wizard, and we'll do that by coming to the bottom where it appeared, and we'll start by giving it a title here, or a name, and we'll call it TIW XYZ Consultant. We're going to give it a filter of *.asc, and that will filter any files out that have the extension .asc. When we go to pick the file, we'll come over to the file format over here and we'll press the ellipsis button. This will take you to your hard drive normally, where our TIW files are normally stored. However, if you want everybody to have access to this TIW, it should be on a server. So we'll pick a server location, we'll pick the TIW file and click Open. To save these changes, simply click Accept. The next setting is the Use Substitution Strings. This setting allows you to substitute field codes, linking codes, and control codes in the raw data with other text strings. The substitution strings are used during the importing of raw data files. The first step is to set the substitution strings to true, which is the default, and then enter your substitution strings in the substitution strings field in this area here by clicking on the field and then clicking the ellipsis button. To create a new substitution string, simply click the New button. There is an option called Whole Word. For each substitution string, you have the option to use the whole word, which can be set as true or false. If this option is set to true, the software searches for exact matches that use the entire string and replaces the entire string with the substitution string. If this option is set to false, the software will search for instances of text strings that contain the substitution string and will replace portions of the entire string with the substitution string. Here's an example of how substitution strings can be used. In the past, some coding practices used two linking codes to specify the survey line connections. Only one linking code is used per survey shot in OpenRoads Designer. ST-PC was used in the past to specify the start of a line that begins with a curve. In OpenRoads Designer, the equivalent linking code is named StartPC and uses the alpha code named SC by default. So we would start by entering a substitution string of ST space PC and we want to replace that string with SC. And it would be a whole word, so that would be set to true. You can have as many of these as you want, so you continue to add new ones here, as many as you need to complete this process, and then when you're done, you press the accept button. The next setting is the description separator. This is used to append the coding field with a description. The default is 2 dashes. For example, if you key in TP for the field code and follow that with 2 dashes and a text string, the text string will be added as a description for that shot. This setting can provide an additional way of entering descriptions, since many data collector formats use other parsing techniques to assign descriptions to the shots. The next setting is the attribute separator. This is used to append the coding field with an attribute value. The default is an equal sign. For example, if you key in tree for the field code and follow that with an equal sign and the text 12-inch, 12-inch will be added as an attribute value for that shot. This setting can provide an additional way of entering attribute values, since many data collector formats use other parsing techniques to assign the values to the shots. Using this technique, attribute names would have to be manually entered after importing the raw data. To further elaborate on how the description separator and the attribute separator works, let's take a look at a raw data file here. And here we have a shot that is named TP for the actual code, followed by 2 dashes and then monument point. And the monument point would come up in the data as the description. With respect to the attribute separator, here we have a code named tree, and there's an equal sign following that code with 12 inches. 12 inches would appear as the attribute value in the data once this was imported. Here's how this would look in OpenRoads Designer after the data was imported. For the one code TP, we put in a description with the 2 dashes of monument point, and that's where it would show up once the data is imported. We also, for the code tree, we had an attribute separator with an equal sign of 12, and that's where it would be located in the survey details with respect to the attribute value. Of course, you'll have to change this by clicking here and then adding the value here, let's say size for the value, and accepting that. That would have to be done post-processing using that technique. That concludes this video on the data file parsing section of the survey settings. The survey settings configuration will continue in the next video, where we will cover the adjustment default section.